So Pitt, oh yeah, Yins are crazy.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back for another episode of YINZERITAS. I'm Taylor, and I'm joined by one of my lovely co-hosts, Jane. And this week, we are just kind of talking about some, general Pittsburgh things. No guests at this time, so it's just us. But, exciting news in the world of Pittsburgh sports in terms of Pitt's performance and the Penguin season starting and everything. I know I am super excited for the Penguins to pick up. The preseason has so far been an interesting experience. And Steelers, although we've had kind of a rough experience, I, am grateful to just be watching football right now. And it's early enough that we should not panic.
I agree. I feel like, the Steelers have definitely been off to a rough start. I mean, it's kind of ironic because I feel like at Heinz Field, there's a little bit of that, Steelers versus Pitt. And usually Pitt's the team that's not doing too well and they're not looking too hot. And it's kind of ironic because this season's a little bit of a flip-flop, right? The Steelers aren't doing too hot and the college team's balling out. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I feel like the Steelers have been kind of all over the place. This loss last weekend, I think a lot of people were expecting them to come back and come, off the loss the previous week and come in stronger and succeed, and get that W. But that obviously didn't happen. I don't know, Taylor, what were your thoughts overall about the game?
So I have a lot of thoughts. Basically, the biggest is, it's one of those things where, yes, we started out with a win this season, and I think we all got our hopes up a lot, but we knew going in, Ben, is getting up there and is kind of on a bit of a downturn. He's still our quarterback. We still
He's
love
old.
him.
You can say it. He's old.
He is old.
He's old. Just come out and say it, Taylor. He's old.
Tom Brady just pulled off that whole thing yesterday. So it's so frustrating to see somebody who is also aging do so well, but injuries played a part in that, so I'm going to give him a break.
Yeah.
and all I can think about is the fact that multiple factors are going into this. We had a week, not this week, but previously, where so much of our team was out, especially starting defenders, and that was a huge problem. And still to this day, still have Tuitt, Claypool, and like Chuck's out, and those are huge players for our team. So I'm taking everything with a grain of salt right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think too, we have a good defense, but the problem is when our offense keeps turning the ball over every single play, it puts more pressure on the defense. The defense can't keep up to play to their standard every single time it gets turned over, especially with players out and, that leadership role missing. I feel like it's just a matter of time that it just keeps falling apart, right? Like, even if they stay strong for the first quarter, it's just going to keep plummeting unless they figure something out. I mean, back to your point of big old Ben, I would really like to see someone fresh come in, even if it's just for the last couple games of the season to liven things up. I mean, I think this last game, I saw Ben just throwing a bunch of lobs, hoping for the best. And it's like, come on, man, we got to do something a little bit better here. Switch it up, get something going down the field. But it doesn't help having all those injuries, to your point.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And like I said, all of those combined factors, you're completely right. Ben overall is such a big problem because, he, as it is, doesn't have a lot of time because our line situation is still not great. So he's trying to throw it quickly, and that combined with the fact that he's missing the targets is just kind of costing us big time. And, the receivers are all taking some of the blame too, which I understand because it's a team effort and they're handling it well.
Yeah, but they run that slot in expecting that ball is going to come. They're running 100 miles an hour down that field, running their route, thinking the ball's going in a certain spot. So when they have to adjust even a couple yards, I mean, that's throwing off their whole game.
It absolutely is. And I think a big problem with that too is, like you said, they're doing their jobs. They can't magically grow a foot in order to catch the ball.
Yeah.
Juju would have had probably two, definitely one touchdown.
Yeah.
If
I remember that one because Yes, that was crazy. I mean, he was right there, and I even saw they fast forwarded, him on the bench. He took the iPad and he like slammed it on the floor after he rewatched. I mean, I'm like, dude, I would have done the same thing.
Understandably frustrated, yes. And I mean, it's combined with other things too. I mean, Ben not being able to hit those targets is definitely a problem. But if we're on fourth down and we're calling
Yeah.
those little screen passes to Najee, it's not the most
No.
practical thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, I totally agree. And I mean, I think it was 2 games ago, we were in the position to where we could get first down and we played it safe multiple times. And I mean, obviously that's a coaching choice, but at the same time, when are we coaching to win versus playing it safe? I think we were down maybe 14 or 15 points and we were at a third down with the opportunity to get a first down and we had timeouts left. And instead we went for a kick and, lost a timeout the next play. And it's kind of like, what are we doing? So I hope between the coaching, the offense getting their act together, Ben, that we can kind of get something working a little bit better for the rest of the season. Cause I know, I mean, hopefully this weekend they're back at home, back at Heinz Field, back, in routine. Hopefully that will bring back some good momentum and we'll see what happens. But I sure do hope for a win this weekend.
I hope you're right. Everybody has been really down on themselves about this season, and I get it. We're not used to seeing the Steelers lose in our time.
Yeah.
It hasn't really happened. But I think that's also a testament to the fact that Tomlin's never had a losing season. And although we have any problems with coaching, as we've just talked about, he does have a record that speaks for itself. And Matt Canada, this role, I know I'm a big critic of him because I had high hopes going in, but at the same time, he's got to learn to adjust. We can't just assume he's going to fall into the hole that Fiechner set up where, we kind of listen to what Ben wants to do, or, we call the plays we're comfortable with, like you were saying before. And instead we do take some of those risks and try a scheme that maybe Ben's not used to. And sure, he might not be great at it, worth a shot at least, if this is his last season, especially.
Yeah, I mean, and it's sad because if it was a younger quarterback, you'd have your doubts of, oh, he's not experienced enough to make these risky moves. But on the other hand, I'm more worried about Ben making some of these riskier moves because he's not very agile. He's either going to get hurt or he's just going to not be able to do it physically because he's just so far, I believe, out of the game. But on a more positive note, so I saw you were on the road this past week. I think you might have caught your eye on a game-winning field goal. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, that's right. So my fiance, Mike, is, as I mentioned before, sadly a Bengals fan. But it does come with, I mean, we went on a little mini vacation out to Cincinnati, and it was my first time in the city. It was experience, and honestly, their fans, they poked their jabs and everything, but they were really welcoming and a great time. The game, awesome. Like you said, yes, we were right in the end zone for that game-winning field goal in the fan section. So we had prime
fun
thing, and
the
messy game. At first, they didn't look too good, and we were a little bit worried. I mean, not so much me, but him. And then we got into the second. A really good game, and it made up to be, fantastic Thursday night football.
Hey, you gotta love it. I always feel for those kickers. They have one job, and they can either be the hero or they can get some real criticism, you could say. So it's always nice when you see them do something good and get the congratulations.
Yes, I know my brother was a kicker in high school, so I always watch very carefully because of that, because I'm not a pro by any means, but I step on some because of him. And things like, I'm elephant in the room, I guess we have to say it, the horrible call where they said that Hayden was offsides when he clearly didn't jump until the ball was snapped, and he moved at the same time as Mink. So we had that happen, and again, the Steelers would have ended up probably tying the game, but they still looked rough despite that. So that was but that led me to really, really look at the play and kind of reevaluate, because we had a couple of those kicks on our where we did well, but I will say I got scared a couple of times that there was going to be a block or something.
Oh yeah, I mean, I hold my breath. There's been a few times where I'm like, oh boy. I mean, I'm pretty sure this last game we did have a kick go off the post.
We did.
In. So, you never know. I'll take the points, but it kept me on the edge of my seat. That's for sure. So, we'll see. We'll see. Fingers crossed for this week. Smooth sailing for everyone, but can't be too sure. So the Steelers are home this weekend. Our second Pitt football team, the Pittsburgh Panthers, they are on their bye week, coming off of a huge win on the road versus Georgia Tech. They beat them 52-21. I know before we were all kind of like, oh, yikes, this is starting ACC play. This is huge. They had a really tough loss the week before. We all were kind of like, yikes, what's going to happen? So I know I was thrilled to see Pitt pull through, and not only pull through, but flourish on the field. They looked really good. And I'm pumped to see where ACC play takes them. I think they have a chance of beating a lot of good teams this year, home and away. I personally, I would love to see them crush Clemson, just absolutely demolish Clemson at the end of the month. We have a good few more games before that. And so I hope so, but man, I'm pretty pumped. I think they're looking really good this year.
Yeah, I mean, last time we talked, you're right. I know our conversation with Tyler was kind of all about inspiration and the bright side of things. So do give to us, because it seems like it paid off. They looked really good. Yeah. Play calling was better. Obviously, we already have quarterback chirps about, where he's going to be drafted and if the Steelers should take him. And that speaks volumes, I just, as somebody who doesn't follow Pitt football super closely, because you're the expert on that, I know for a fact I am super entertained and more drawn in than I've been in a while.
Yeah, no, I mean, they have such good players on this team, kind of to your point with Kenny looking, as a huge perspective player in the NFL in the next couple of years. They have so many guys that are very entertaining to watch. I mean, they have Lucas, they have Tayseer, they have Jordan Addison. These are all guys that are consistently scoring touchdowns that look really good on the field. And they're just fun to watch, man. They're catching balls. I mean, the wide receiver depth chart, I mean, they get better and better. It's really fun to watch. So I'm excited to see where they go this season. And for all of you that do not know, my brothers play at the University of Pittsburgh football. So that is why I'm such a dedicated fan. I mean, I do love Pitt, but I have the family ties there. My brother Michael, he played there a few years ago. He's now a wide receiver coach at Wofford. So go Wofford football too. And then John and Peter are both there as well right now playing football. John's a wide receiver, and so is Peter. Peter's a freshman, and John is a redshirt senior. You never know with all these COVID and this, and they all get red shirts for everything. So that is my family ties to Pitt. So, go Panthers. I'm at every game, which is so fun. I'm actually super excited. I'm going next weekend to Virginia Tech. So that'll be a blast. I've never been there. Have you ever been to the Virginia Tech Stadium?
I haven't, but I am going to try to get down because their games look like so much fun. And my cousin actually just started there. So I have an excuse to go down.
Yes. Well, I mean, I'll be down there for the big game. So if you're down there, let me know. But I'm excited to go to that field. I feel like it'll be a really good atmosphere and a nice switch up from Heinz Field. As much as I love the North Shore, it's been a long season of so many home games and clocking in my hours at Heinz for sure. So I guess our other Pittsburgh team the only one we haven't really talked about is good old Pirates. I mean, it's kind of easy, I guess, to forget about them, as harsh as that is. There's never too much going on there, so you kind of forget about them. I mean, I did go, I think, to a game for $10 a few weekends ago, and I got a $10 concession stand voucher. So it was like, okay, this is sweet. I'll go have a beer and watch the game for a couple hours and whatever. But their season's wrapped up. I don't know, kind of a little bit of both. Are you gonna miss them this upcoming little season, or hope for a good break?
I worry about the Pirates regularly, but I do think we're and I mean, I wish Lexi was here to tell us more, but I have so much confidence in them to actually manage to pull off this restructuring, so I'm kind of excited for to see what that brings. Now, hopefully we hold on to the players that keep us at a level where restructuring is going to help us, because that tends to be our problem.
We let go of anyone that costs us too much.
Yeah, and the thing that has me extra it's like I didn't even go to a game this year. This is the first year in recent memory, outside of course, last year with the pandemic, that I didn't go to a baseball game. And it kind of was a shock. Like, we just bought a house and everything, so it's been really crazy. But, I want to get back to planning out those games months in advance and, like, the fully taken Pirates baseball. So I'm really hoping, this end of the year brings many good things for us.
I do too. It is quite a shame, because you go to New York, you see the Yankees. I mean, these are obviously big teams, or you go down to the Braves Stadium, and it's such an amazing environment to be at, like the fans, the bars, the restaurants, the streets, like it's incredible. And we have one of the most beautiful stadiums in the country, and we can't fill it. And, that in itself should be enough motivation for management to just do something different, like get people coming, see the view.
It's such a waste. It is the most beautiful view in baseball, in my opinion. And like, I was right by the Cincinnati Reds Stadium all this past week. And, half the bars in town are themed to the Reds, and even the Bengals, like they even support a team that hasn't had the best record in recent years. So I would love to see that more normalized in Pittsburgh, because sure, we have a bunch of places that have all the Pittsburgh teams, but I don't see it in the same capacity as other cities. And I think, looking at 2013 and those highlights of those years with Kutch and everything, we had a different environment where that would be more normal. So you're right. It would be great to have that happen, like, in those big cities.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not like we don't have the infrastructure for it. The North Shore is created all over to the left side of the stadium for the Pirates. There's plenty of restaurants and bars. So fingers crossed, like you said, the new year will bring in some new talent and just a new phase, I guess, of Pirates baseball. Let's keep our fingers crossed.
I really hope so. We were talking about tailgating before we came on today, just because, I was at a Steelers tailgate, when was it, 2 weeks ago or something? And that was a great experience, but I can't even remember the last time I went down for a Pirates tailgate, and that officially has to change, because at least getting a boat on the water would be amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it is crazy. Me and my sister, actually, the game we went to, we rode our bikes we live in the South Side, and we rode our bikes over to the North Shore, and we got lunch at one of those places and had quite a few beverages, and then went in for our $10 ticket. And it was great. We had a great day. It was so fun. And I will have to say, one perk of it not being too crowded, getting an Uber afterwards is doable. Like, you can get an Uber after the game, unlike some of the other sporting events where you'll be waiting for a hot minute. But speaking, last sporting event, Pittsburgh Penguins. You are a Pens girl. I feel like you have so much insight always. What are what's your outlook for the season? What are you hoping for? What do you think?
I'm really excited. I know a lot of people were reserved about this season, because last year didn't quite go how we wanted. And, we saw some injuries in the off season that were concerning. So basically what I'm thinking is, Sid's injury, it's bad, but he will be all in this season. It seems like he's good, and that gives me a lot of hope. As for the rest of the team, you know, lost some good players in the offseason considering everything that happened with the Kraken, and that's a pain. But I think everybody just needs to move on, focus on this year. I feel like we still have one of the best teams in the NHL, so I feel good.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited. I really am. I mean, last year was a bit of a bummer how we closed out. I think we all expected a little bit more. But it was a weird season, a weird year. I'll chalk that up to, once again, the pandemic, and there's just a lot going on. And it's hard to take, I think, for any of these teams, their performance last year, and be able to do any comparison to this year or any thinking of how things will turn out, because at the end of the day, having no fans, having these weird games and weird cities and weird times, it changes things. So once the Pens arena is full of crazy fans again, I have a feeling those guys will be right back to where they picked up pre-pandemic. I'm hoping. Which will be great to see. I mean, it's always great. And I mean, we'll be here before you know it. So fingers crossed once again that we have another prosperous things ahead. So we'll see.
Well, I guess that kind of brings us to the end of our conversation. With everything said today, I guess the main thing we have to do is kind of just give our thank yous. As you guys know, YINZERITAS is brought to you by Yinzer Crazy, but what you might not know is that we have some amazing businesses in Pittsburgh working behind the scenes to kind of help us, and namely one of those would be the Steel City Wheelhouse. If you go to steelcitywheelhouse.com, you'll see that they are basically the best for all of your car needs in the city and can hook you up with whatever you might need for those tailgates that we mentioned earlier. And I know, Jane, that I are both looking forward to, in the coming weeks, potentially getting on and talking to Chris Wormley on his show, which you can catch, of course, every Tuesday on yinzercrazy.com and wherever you listen to podcasts or view videos, anything like that. So thank you guys so much for watching and joining Jane and I today and listening along if you're only doing the audio version. If you want to stay in touch with us, follow us on social media. Yinzer Crazy is on pretty much anything you can imagine.
Very, very true. All right. Well, see you, Taylor. It was great chatting.
Yes, you too. See ya.
So Pitt, oh yeah, Yinzer Crazy. This is it right here. Yinzer Crazy. So Pitt, oh yeah, Yinzer Crazy. This is it right here. Yinzer Crazy. I know Yinzer Crazy, but so am I. Number one sports site in the burg, let me show you why. The latest stories and unbeatable